further ado, I would like to introduce Cindy Derrico, Vanessa Griffith, and Rachel Tafoya. Hello, you all. How are you doing today?
Wonderful. It's so great to see you, Patrick. And yeah, so great to be here with all of you. Thank you so much for being here. Vanessa is going to share the screen here, which has our informational slideshow. So as Patrick mentioned, I'm Cindy Derrico. I am the Associate Vice President for Student Affairs and Dean of Students here at Cal State Channel Islands. And I'm not sure I could effectively communicate just how excited we are to have fall semester and have you all join us again in person. We're really looking forward to that. This has been a rough year, right, for all of us in our various communities managing. But we're excited about the opportunities for fall. So thrilled to give you some information about housing. And I want to introduce my colleagues, Rachel Tafoya, who is our Interim Director for Housing Services and Operations, and also Vanessa Griffith, who is right now, she's our Interim Lead Coordinator for Residential Education. You'll see there Dr. Gary C. Gordon II, who is our Director of Residential Education. He's out of the office presently, so wasn't able to be with us today for the presentation, but he'll be someone to look forward to meeting when you participate in orientation this summer. I also want to introduce a couple of other staff members. They're not with us today, but just so that you're aware of folks who work in our office. Cassandra Sillick is my assistant, so if you ever need to access me or to coordinate something with the Dean of Students office, she's a great resource for that. And then Tanya Yanchison is our coordinator of repopulation and marketing initiatives. So you'll see a lot of her in housing activities, engagement activities this summer, answering questions for you. I expect we'll have some Q&A sessions as we progress through the summer. So you can look forward to seeing her as well. I'm going to hand it over now to Rachel so she can introduce her team. Oh, sorry, to Vanessa. Sorry, Vanessa was going to introduce her team first.
That's okay, no worries. Yeah, so as Cindy said, I'm Vanessa. I'm the Interim Lead Coordinator of Residential Education. So I help oversee our residential education program, and I work really closely with our learning communities and living learning communities on campus. And my team right now consists of 2 professional staff members, and they are Zoe Wojcina-Skillman. She's our Residential Education Operations Assistant. She helps with our front desk staff. And Ray Munoz, he's our Assistant Coordinator of Residential Education, and he supervises the resident advisors and our senior community advisors. And so I'll turn it over to Rachel to introduce her team.
Thank you. Good morning, all. As shared, my name is Rachel Tafoya, and I serve as the Interim Director of Housing Services and Operations for Housing and Residential Education. I'd like to take the time to introduce you to our Housing and Services Operations team, who work hard every day behind the scenes to support your success here at Student Housing. I'll begin with Loretta Franklin. She's our Operations Analyst who assists with managing our front lines and supports answering your questions via email or phone call. Diana Venegas, our Occupancy Clerk, who assists with ensuring key access to your room and throughout our facilities. Brittany Heward, our Occupancy and Budget Analyst, who assists with navigating your license or billing questions and supports our occupancy functions in student housing. Madison Miller, our Facility Coordinator, who assists with ensuring you are welcome to a clean, comfortable living environment and supports all your work order needs. Daniel Stewart, our Information Technology Consultant, who supports our network access and functionality of our application processes. We are excited for you to make this transition to the university, and even more excited for your interest in choosing Channel Islands. I'll turn it over to Vanessa, who will go ahead and share a little bit more about our residential education program.
Awesome, thanks, Rachel. So here are 10 things about what's great about living on campus. I'm not going to read through all of them, but just to highlight a few. Research does show that students who live on campus have a higher retention rate, meaning they are more likely to return after their first year and to keep coming back through their college experience. And they also have less time to graduation, meaning it takes them less or not as many years to graduate. So there's some good research behind the benefits of living in housing. It also is an opportunity for you to have social interactions with your peers outside of the classroom. It's very close to your classes, and we also have a number of events and activities that we put together for you all to interact and have fun and to really enjoy your on-campus living experience. And then lastly, I'd like to highlight our facility dog, Lonnie. So we do have a canine in our offices that you can come and visit on a regular basis, and he's there with me every day, so or will be, and kind of depends on the current situation, but we have our facility dog as well that you can come and visit if you all are missing your animals at home. So some great reasons to live on campus. All right, so what's happening in housing? So like I said, we have events and activities. Some are outings, social gatherings. We like to do different activities together, arts and crafts, movie nights, different game nights, different activities. And a lot of times the RAs will also tailor the events to you specifically, so what you're wanting to see. So they'll ask and we'll try and make it happen. And next, we have some employment opportunities, so some paid opportunities in housing. So after your first year in housing, you do have the opportunity to apply to become a resident advisor or an RA or a desk assistant who staffs the front desks and answers questions, answers the phones, can help with lockouts, helping you with your mail, things like that. So that's a great opportunity to have an on-campus job and to make a little bit of money while you're living and working at universities. So, okay, so we'll talk a little bit about why housing is a great option. So there are some safety measures that we have in place. So we have our 24/7 support for students. We also have a campus access retention and equity team, which is a group of professionals that are ready to assist if a student is experiencing a crisis situation. We also have 24/7 counseling resources. Our police officers on campus are all EMT certified, and they can respond in just a few minutes to any situation or emergency situation. And we also have a number of safety measures that are through the university to give students notifications about natural disasters or different emergencies that are happening in the moment. So we do have a system called CI Alert where you can get notifications, you and your parents can get notifications about emergencies and what the university is doing in response. And we also have pretty secure buildings and villages that help students to enjoy a safer experience. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about our living learning community. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, I am the coordinator who oversees these programs. So these are programs where students get to take classes together and also do co-curricular activities together outside of the classroom. So this year we've had a lot of virtual opportunities, guest speakers, movie nights, different discussion groups, and opportunities to go to online events, things like that. And then this next year, as we see how the year kind of develops, we'll be able to see what kinds of activities we can offer. But we've also done in-person trips out to the islands. We have had a campus Kwanzaa activity where we light candles each day for each day of Kwanzaa. We've taken students horseback riding to the Channel Islands Boating Center. So essentially you'll take 2 courses in the fall and 1 to 2 courses in the spring with each other. You'll live on the same floor. And all of our LLCs are housed in Santa Rosa Village and are themed around one of our campus pillars, mission pillars. So multicultural, international, integrative, or community engagement. You can find out more on our website that I have listed there, and I can put into the chat in just a little bit. And next we have themed communities that are that don't have an associated number of classes with it, but you do get to live on the same floors as other students, and they are also themed around our university mission pillars. We have 2 communities for our freshmen and 1 for our transfer students. So those are Outdoor Adventures and Geek Life for our freshmen. Those are both in Santa Rosa, excuse me. And then the transfer theme community is in Anacapa Village. So we have a priority application deadline of June 7th for indicating in your housing application whether you're interested in an LLC or a TC. Okay. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Rachel to talk a little bit about our facility.
Thank you. We have many cool places and spaces for our residents to hang out and enjoy themselves as displayed on the slide. Many of these amenities feature various common rooms such as an exercise room and even a surfboard storage area for all you surfers and potential surfers out there. Although we expect that many strict public health measures will be lifted or altered, we still anticipate retaining some physical distancing, mask wearing, and avoidance of large gatherings. Therefore, these spaces may be offered with a limited capacity, which would reduce the number of people who can use common room areas and outdoor spaces at one time. Can you go to the next slide, please? Our freshman accommodations. Santa Rosa is home to our freshman community set up as a traditional residence hall, which offers mostly shared double occupancy bedrooms and accommodates 39 students per pod. Each pod features a family room, community study room, and community gender and all gendered restrooms. Next slide, please. For our transfer accommodations, our upper division students are accommodated in both our Santa Cruz and Anacapa Village facilities, which provides a shared living accommodation in a suite or in an apartment style setup. Additionally, there is another living area known as Town Center located east of the library that accommodates a little over 100 students, typically comprised of our returning resident population. Most transfer students are assigned to both Anacapa and Santa Cruz villages. I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Cindy to share more information about our residential dining program. Cindy.
Thanks, Rachel. So I was just answering a student's question online about meal plans. So I just wanted to start off by letting you know just how passionate our University Auxiliary Services team is about supporting our students through, it's not just eating, although we all need to eat, right, to make sure that we have good nutrition, but our staff really are committed to providing the very best food service. And I can be a good testimonial for that because I eat regularly in all of our eating locations on campus and think they make really excellent food. So I commend it to you highly. We think that this is an important part of the on-campus residential experience, and we do want to make sure that students have access to nutritious meals. And so all residents are required to buy a meal plan. If you live in an apartment, it's a much smaller meal plan. It's like between 1 and 2 meals a week is the minimum required. But if you live in a unit without a kitchen, which most of our first-time students will, and our second-year students in Santa Rosa and Santa Cruz villages, those meal plans are larger, between 10 and 12 meals a week. And it includes both what we call meal swipes for eating in the residential dining facility, and also dining dollars, where you can stop and pick up a bagel or a coffee or something else that's a little smaller than a full meal like you might get in residential dining program. And then I will also mention that we don't yet know, although we do expect things are going to be much better in fall than we have experienced this year, but we do likely expect that there might still be some limitations. And so we'll ask you to stay updated on that by checking out the UAS website around food service, and we'll be sure to include that information as we provide housing updates throughout the summer. And now I'm going to pass it off to, is it Rachel or Vanessa? I'm sorry, I don't know I can't see the next slide, but pass it off to my colleagues to take the next piece here.
Thank you.
There we go, Rachel.
Thank you. So I'm going to share with you a little bit about how to secure on-campus housing with us. Once you have submitted your intent to enroll and selected your orientation date, you're now ready to apply for student housing. To begin, a $50 non-refundable fee would be payable through the application. In addition, there is a $500 deposit due to secure accommodations. Unless you are eligible for a fee deferral determined by your estimated family contribution of $4,000 or less, and you have submitted your FAFSA by the filing deadline of March 2nd. Both the application and deposit fee must be paid through the student housing portal. And it is important that the license agreement is reviewed in its entirety and all terms and conditions are understood and agreed to by your submission of your electronic signature. However, if you are under the age of 18 years old at the time the application is completed, We will require a signed hard copy of the license agreement along with a designated guarantor, whose signature will also be required, accepting responsibility towards all terms and conditions set forth in the license agreement. And next slide, please. Here is a few screenshots of how to apply for student housing. So this page displays navigation of how you'll get to the housing, student housing link. So you'll select, you'll log in through your MyCI account and putting your Dolphin name and password. Select the student housing link, which is displayed with a little house. Select the term fall spring application and follow the prompts to complete the application. Next slide, please. Here you'll see important dates. We encourage you to adhere to the important dates listed on the slide. An essential date is the priority application deadlines set for June 14th for all new students to submit their housing application to guarantee accommodations for the upcoming academic year. We encourage you to take a screenshot of this page so you are aware of all important deadlines to secure accommodations with us. And I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Cindy to share a little more about our important administrative information.
Okay, so the first thing I want to say, and maybe my colleagues throughout this Admitted Dolphin Day have let you know this, but we communicate all really vital information through email. And so we do encourage you to check your MyCI email, your Dolphin email regularly, and check your spam folder. Sometimes, depending on how you have your filter set, it might end up in your spam folder. So if you're not seeing email come in from the university, that's a good place to check. The other item that I want to let you know about are how you make payments for student housing. Your student housing application fee when you go into the portal is paid directly in the portal. It's a $50 application fee. You pay it in the portal. You also make your $500 housing deposit through the student housing portal. All future payments for student housing, though, are made through your MyCI account. So we'll post your fall and spring room and board fees there, and that's how you'll make all other payments, including tuition and fees, through your student account. The university also offers a housing installment payment plan that can encompass both your room and board payments. For fall semester, they charge $33 a semester, and you can take the full amount that is owed after the application of, generally, I think it's after the application of your financial aid, if you are receiving any of that. And then it'll break up the rest of the balance into installments, and you can pay them in fall in 3 installments, August 17th, September 17th, and October. And then in spring, it's 4 payments. All fees are due to the university for tuition fees, room and board by August 17th. So if you don't use a payment plan, you want to make sure that either your financial aid has posted or that you're making payments out of personal resources for all of your fees by that date. And then we'll move on. I think the next slide is more additional information, right? Financial aid. So one of the things we want to encourage you here is that there's a lot of students who use financial aid to cover their tuition and fees and to help pay for their room and board. And one of the ways you can ensure that that's paid on time by that August 17th deadline is to respond to all requests from the financial aid office for documentation. So it's not uncommon that they might ask you to give them some information so they can complete your financial aid processing. And we find that for students who want to live on campus, that can be one of the roadblocks they encounter when it comes time for fall. So we encourage you to watch that information carefully on your CI to-do list. And they typically require that you submit all of those documents and respond to their requests by May 31st. So if you do that, you're in the best position possible to make sure that everything is awarded fully and on time for the August 17th payment date. If you want to use student loans or Parent Plus loans, and you are a first-time student this fall, you'll want to make sure that you also complete your online loan counseling and master promissory note. If you have received student loans or Parent Plus loans in the past, then that's probably already covered, right? And you may not need to do that again. But if this is your first time, you'll want to make sure you do that that's another thing that we see can sometimes delay funding for students who want to live on campus. And then we wanted to give you a couple of pieces of information about how we're planning in light of COVID. We are in Ventura County right now in the orange tier, and so we're happy to be moving down into more and more open circumstances in our county. But as a university, we are working with guidance from a variety of agencies, including our system-wide chancellor's office, our local county Department of Public Health, the California State Department of Public Health, Cal OSHA for workplace safety, the U.S. Department of Education, and our U.S. Centers for Disease Control. So we've got a lot of data that we have to kind of process to make sure that we're operating according to guidelines. And in working with our local public health folks, they have cleared us to offer both single and double accommodations next fall. So that is definitely improvement over what we were able to do this year. And we're also planning to offer isolation and quarantine space in the event that someone is exposed to COVID-19 or if they
Cindy, you became muted.
Sorry, I just muted myself accidentally. Sorry about that. I don't know where that might have happened, but you'll note there that we'll offer some quarantine or isolation space. And if we have a lot of demand for housing on campus, we will probably offer those kind of accommodations off campus to support a healthy community. Did I cover everything there, Vanessa, before I muted myself? And then we can move to the next slide. And then the thing that I really wanted to, I wasn't a part of all the presentations today, but I know that our president and the rest of our university leadership are strongly encouraging all students to be vaccinated for COVID-19. We really think this is going to give you the greatest opportunity for the most fully engaged experience on campus, not just in student housing, but across all activities. So what I kind of mean by that is that we do expect that there are going to continue to be some requirements under COVID-19, and students who are vaccinated either may have an opportunity to be exempt from those requirements, or they may have fewer of those requirements than students who are not vaccinated. So some examples of that are that we expect that we may require routine surveillance testing, and that could be reduced or eliminated if you have the COVID-19 vaccination. We do expect that we'll have face mask requirements for fall for students who do and don't have the vaccine. We expect there'll be limits on large gatherings, and that may be different if you're vaccinated. We're expecting that we'll give cleaning and sanitizing guidelines to students. So in the spaces you share in your living area, in a suite or in an apartment, we'll give you some guidelines for how to do that so you can stay healthy in your living space. And then things are changing all the time on this and pretty rapidly. So we intend to provide updates, and if needed, we'll provide some additional detail to have you agree to in the summer so you have a clear idea of what might be expected. And then finally, we have ways for you to contact us on social media, and then you can contact us in our office at student.housing@CSUCI. And also, I don't know that our phone number's on here, but you can catch us on our website and get our phone number that way. So I wanted to open it up for any questions that you might have that we might be able to answer verbally here. And I think we've been trying to keep up with the Q&A in the chat.
Yes.
So the first question that we have here is there an option to not get a meal plan? Oh, sorry, Patrick, are you going to read it?
Oh, you can go ahead, Vanessa.
Okay. So Cindy, it looks like you started to type an answer. Do you want to answer that?
Yes, thank you. I had to jump on and start presenting. It didn't get to finish. Yes, all resident students are required to have a meal plan for two reasons. One is we want to make sure that the nutritional needs of students are minimally met for all students that live on campus. And then the other reason is that when you live on campus, that communal dining experience is really important to the overall experience on campus. So for both of those reasons, it is required. If you live in an apartment, it's a very minimal expectation, but there is still a requirement. And if you don't have a kitchen, of course, we need to make sure that that there are going to be a reasonable number of meals to meet your nutritional needs over the course of a week. So those requirements are in place. I will say that I think they're very reasonable requirements compared to most on-campus housing programs. And you have a certain number of meals over the course of a semester, right? Rather than limited to each week. You can use them however you would like over the course of a semester.
Okay, so the next question we have is, what if we don't have enough financial aid to pay every month? Rachel, did you want to respond to that one?
Yes, if you don't have enough financial aid to pay every month, there are other options. Not only with financial aid, you might look at scholarships and loans that might be available to you. And what would happen is that would be another opportunity for financial aid. Any kind of aid that you're receiving, as Cindy had indicated, you can sign up for a housing installment payment plan, and then your payments would be broken down into smaller payments, which you can go ahead and pay during the housing installment payment plan. I hope that answered your question. If not, what we can do is we can go ahead and obtain your email. If you email the studenthousing.csuci.edu, we can go ahead and help navigate some of those questions a little bit closer.
Okay, so the next question is, what's minimum board? Cindy, did you want to comment on that?
Yes, and I'm sorry, I don't have the dollar amount right in front of me, but the minimum board plan, if you live in if you live in an apartment, is a 60 meals over the course of a semester, and what is it, Rachel, $100 in dining dollars?
$125 in dining dollars.
I think that's about $700 a semester. Do I have that right?
That's correct.
Okay, awesome. And then if you are living in a suite or a residence hall room, the minimum meal plan is
basic 160.
Thank you. Basic 160, so 160 meals over the course of the semester. And how much in dining cash, Rachel?
300.
300. So that's a lot of coffees or bagels, or if you want to get something at the taqueria, those kinds of things. Yeah. And then we also offer larger plans, actually, and many students take advantage of those, all the way up to every meal that's offered through our residential dining program. And so we have students that just like to have that available to them.
And if I can add just a little bit more with those dining dollars and cash, if you don't use all of them during the fall semester, if you maybe have $100 left over, that will roll over to the spring semester. But after the spring semester, then that would be the extent of your dining dollars. So that way you can use, like Cindy was sharing, the eateries here on campus.
The meal swipes don't roll over, but the dining dollars do. So you have that flexibility.
Thank you.
So I think we're right out of time, but as Cindy had mentioned earlier, we will have some sessions over the summer where Tanya will be on to help students answer any questions that they have, as well as you can go ahead and visit our housing website, which is actually on the bottom of the screen here. And I can go ahead and put it in the chat, and we'd be happy to answer any questions that you have beyond today's presentation. So thank you.
Yeah, feel free to send those questions we didn't get to answer in the chat to our email. We'd be happy to get answers back to you.
Thank you so much. And before we conclude this session, I did want to thank you, Dr. Derrico, Vanessa Griffith, and then also Rachel Tafoya for coming and presenting and on this wonderful information with housing. Cindy, you showed those pictures of the calf, and now I'm hungry. Just the thoughts, the idea of going to the calf, I was like, oh, I missed the calf. So good, so good.